Thank you everyone for joining our webinar today. Welcome. This is the open house for Yale's Women's Leadership Program. I'm excited to be here, and my name is Kristen Sorick-West. I'm the Director of Marketing for Executive Education here at the Yale School of Management. Before we continue on, a few housekeeping items. We are recording this webinar, and the webinar recording will be distributed afterwards to all webinar registrants. During this webinar, I encourage you to send us questions and comments throughout the webinar using either the chat or the Q&A features. I'll be moderating the Q&A, and my executive education colleague, Joanne Legler, is on the call with us, and she will be moderating the chat. If you could give us a little hello, Joanne, I'd appreciate it so people know who you are. Excellent. Thank you so much. So as I mentioned, we're here today to talk about Women's Leadership Program, or as we call it, WLP. We're here to talk about the program experience and what you can expect to take away from the program if you attend. So in that spirit, our time together today is a discussion. It's a conversation. We're going to answer your questions along the way, so please submit them as they come up. Odds are that if you have a question, others have a similar question in mind. So please pose your questions because it'll benefit the group. For those of you who are not already aware, WLP is an on-campus, in-person executive program hosted here in New Haven. It's designed to develop leadership behaviors in women and those who support them. Behaviors like building high-performing teams, negotiating, managing crisis, driving innovation, and creating an authentic leadership style. So we have two fantastic past participants with us on the call today. We have Christina Layfield and Kate Sutter-Valigorsky. They both attended WLP just a few months ago, back in March, and I'm excited to introduce them both to you. Now, Christina, could you go first? Could you give us a bit of an introduction, talk to us about current role and organization, and if you'll indulge me, maybe a hobby, something you like to do outside of your job?
Sure. So my current role, I am a plant manager at a chemical manufacturing plant right outside of Savannah, Georgia, a little bit south of Savannah, Georgia. And I manage about 80 people in that position. Hobby, I love to run, read, and I have an almost 9-year-old little boy who loves to play soccer. So I am quite often, the second I'm walking in the door, he's saying, "Mom, come play soccer with me outside." So he keeps me very busy.
Wonderful. Well, it's a good thing you're a runner, because
Yeah.
I hear that during one soccer game, football players often run more than a typical cross-country player or
Wow.
cross-country runner.
Hmm.
So keep up with your really active son. Good job.
Right.
Over to you, Kate.
All right, I am Kate Sutter-Valigorsky, and I'm the Senior Director of Events and Engagement Marketing at Sourcewell. Sourcewell is a self-funded government entity in the state of Minnesota. I'm actually remote out of Cincinnati, Ohio, so I saw there's another person from Ohio on the webinar today. And so I am building out and leading this brand new function for the organization, which is very exciting and very daunting all at the same time. And a hobby of mine is I love to bake. I love to bake so much. It just brings me such joy. I'm always baking for people and just trying to give it away because we don't need it in the house. So I'm always making things for my husband to take into the office so that people can try out my new concoctions. So that's definitely a beloved hobby of mine.
Oh, wonderful. We'll have to have you send us everyone on the call. You'll have to make
Yes.
something for everyone on the call.
Love that.
And then later on, we can absolutely have a conversation about Buckeyes versus Wolverines, and for anybody else who wants to talk about college football, we can have that conversation too. Well, let's kick things off. I'm hearing that I need my volume to be turned up a little bit, so please let me know. I've just increased my own volume and how I speak. Let me know if that does the trick. If not, I'll try a few more tactics I have the ability to control on my end. In the meantime, let's kick things off. Kate, prior to attending the program, where were you with your career? What were you looking for in a professional development opportunity?
Great question. So in my organization, I'm very lucky that Sourcewell cares very deeply about professional development. They want people to spend time and money to find those things that can help you grow. And so I had done a couple different professional development things in the past, and really wanted to find something that was meaningful to me. And at the time, I knew that I was going to be moving into a heightened role and starting to become a leader of other leaders. And so it was very important to me to focus on my leadership acumen. And I thought that it would be really special if I could find a women's based program because, and I think a lot of us probably go through this, but there aren't necessarily a lot of seats for women at the table still. And so it was important to me to be surrounded by other strong females. I thought I will take so much more away from this and learn so much more if I'm surrounded by phenomenal people. So I was really focused on a women's leadership program. And then I also know myself well enough that it had to be in person. I could not do anything virtual. I am too accessible virtually. I thought I have to be in the classroom. I have to put my phone away, no laptop. I want to be there and in the moment and in the now and be super intentional. And so that led me on my journey to doing research. And honestly, once I saw just the various reviews and feedback from previous attendees, I thought, why would I do anything else? So Yale became my answer.
Love that, obviously, but I want to throw that same question over to you, Christina. Where were you at with your career? What were you looking for in a professional development program?
For me, I always enjoy just learning more, challenging myself to do better, grow, and develop my leadership skills and my managerial style. I was in this current role that I'm in as a plant manager, but I'm finding myself leading a lot of younger professionals, and it feels like there's a need to kind of change up the way things are done. Being in manufacturing, I am in a very male dominated field, and also we have kind of a long-standing history of doing things a certain way. We're very kind of blunt, direct, on to the next thing. Um, and so I was just looking to how do I continue to reach these people that are coming in that it feels like we need something different than what I had. And this looked like a great opportunity to start either adding on to what I was already trying to do or learn and develop some new skills.
Fantastic. We do actually have a question already about working in such a male dominated field, like manufacturing. And so how would you manage that? So the question talks about how do you manage fairness in a male dominated atmosphere in an industry like manufacturing? And I wonder if you could talk about how do you manage like creating space for yourself and for others who might not have such a dominant voice in that space.
Sure. I think for me, I had to learn the hard way. So I quickly realized that if I didn't speak up and make my voice heard, that I was not going to be listened to. So even if the opportunity wasn't thrown my way, I had to learn to speak up. And I have been here for 18 years, so I've had a little bit of experience doing that over the years. I do recognize that newer individuals coming in may not be as comfortable doing that. And one thing that I really coach them and encourage them is if we put you in this position, it's for a reason. I want to hear what you have to say. Everybody wants to hear what you have to say. And it's really taking the time out to hear what they have to say. And if we are in a meeting where they're not getting the opportunity to speak, then directly asking them what they think. Even if I could answer it, but that's not accomplishing anything for them. So giving them that opportunity.
Mm, I love that. Did you feel like you had found your own voice prior to attending the program, or do you feel like your voice was like your voice as a leader was as strong prior to attending the program as it was after you left it?
I think that it was definitely something that was being strengthened prior to attending the program, but it's something that I continue to need to work on. I do deal with a lot of kind of imposter syndrome. And and this course actually helped me kind of have a light bulb moment about some of why I was feeling that. And that's something I think that I'm constantly dealing with is trying to quiet down those voices and get rid of those so that I can continue to grow and speak up for myself and speak up for my team.
Mhm. imposter syndrome is just so common with
Mhm.
we've been doing the women's leadership program for 2016, and I want to say that I'm happily get a chance to meet with a few members of each presentation, and it's always there. That's always something that they talk about, where they're getting promoted, they're rising, they're finding new challenges to take on fully, but still there's that doubt. There's that sense of like, how did I get here? How am I really here right now?
Right.
Kate, I want to throw that question over to you too about your having your leadership voice in development or already there, because you said you're stepping into a new leadership role. So I wanted to just get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I think heading into this, I had a bit of my leadership voice, but took so much away from the program in how I wanted to continue to hone my leadership voice. One of the things that I walked away from saying, and I've been working really hard to implement this into my everyday, is to be incredibly intentional in my leadership and incredibly intentional in my connection points with those people that I'm meeting with. I think, and I'm sure we all go through this too often, you're on a one and you're on a one-to-one call, and someone's messaging you and emails are coming in and your cell phone could be dinging, and all these things were happening. And so one of the things that I took away quite quickly was I needed to focus on being incredibly intentional, and that became setting everything on do not disturb when my employees, when we are having our one-on-one conversation for that 30-minute chunk that they are dedicated to have with me, minimum of one time a week. I want to give all of that time only to them and be focused so on them. And that was something that I took away, I think, honestly, from the first day. I think even from Emma's first presentation, there was some moment, some light bulb moment that I thought, this is what I want to do, and this is who I want to be as a leader. And so I had a bit of a leadership voice, but it's been growing and forming even more since my time at WLP.
Mm. Were there any specific sessions that helped you with that confidence, or any specific projects or exercises the program like asked you to participate in that helped you find that confidence, that strength?
I think so. One that I remember, and it wasn't ask, it was the reflected best self exercise, which you do in the beginning, and it's where you are asking people around you to provide stories and insights into who you are as a person, your strengths. And so we looked at that. We got that information. We looked at that on the first day during one of the early sessions, and I thought that was so powerful because so often when you get feedback, you're getting more negative feedback. And so to receive that positive feedback and then in small groups be working through what your themes are about what can make you a great leader, and then putting together an action plan, that to me was so incredibly powerful. And I distinctly remember in the room we were having a conversation where a lot of people were feeling like they had imposter syndrome. I'm one of them, and struggling to really be comfortable in this, moving forward in this leadership role and not thinking, oh, I don't deserve this. And one of our cohort members, Aisha, who's just one of the greatest people in the world, she's like, no, I'm really proud of myself. I'm really glad that I can do this. I can do this and I'm great at it. And so just being in this room with these women and having these conversations and hearing someone say, I don't doubt myself. I'm really good at what I do. I thought, yes, that is the power that I want to take away from this.
That's right. I give me more of that energy on a daily basis. RBS is a really powerful assessment. I've had the pleasure of doing it myself, and you're absolutely right. For those on the call, we ask you to invite 20, 30 people from your world, professional world, personal world, people you've managed in your past 2 jobs, people who are managing you currently. We ask for you to invite them to provide you with these stories of when you shined best in a leadership role. And it is, like you were saying, Kate, it is so refreshing to receive just so much positive feedback, and you begin to identify who you are naturally as a leader, where you naturally shine, and it can be quite revelatory. Christina, were there any sessions that stood out to you in particular?
There were, and I think my experience was very similar to Kate, because I also came away kind of with a willingness or an eagerness to refine my leadership voice and really work on how I am speaking to people. And it was really interested in the reflected best self exercise, the positive things that my direct reports said about me. But while I'm here, I sometimes hear through other people that maybe sometimes I'm speaking a little bit too harshly or a little bit too matter of factly. And so it really made me kind of reflect on how am I on day to day when I am stressed, when I am busy. How am I portraying myself to those around me, to my direct reports? So I would say the reflected best self exercise was wonderful. When we talked about emotional intelligence with Emma, that really has you thinking about those things. And, obviously, I don't want to just manage the way that the majority of the people out here are managing. And it's very easy to fall into that trap because that's how I've been managed. And so it's really taking that time to be really intentional with my time, as Kate said, not getting distracted, and also thinking about the emotional state that I'm in. And Emma talked to us a lot about meditation, which I found was amazing. And um, I really think all of it just kind of comes together and clicks and helps you realize that you can actually kind of take things to the next level and be more of what you want to be for those around you.
As you mentioned at the top, you were looking for a way to do things differently than
Right.
how you were shown to do it. What were, Kate, you mentioned wanting to attend a program in person, and because you knew yourself, like you knew you needed to be present. Christina, it sounds like for you as well, the in-person component was quite powerful. Can you talk to us a little bit about what it was like to be back in the classroom again? Like, when was the last time you had a day full of learning sessions, a day full of classes?
I can say that since college. It had been a long time since I had had a day like that. And I remember going into the first day with so much energy and so excited. And it was a long day, but it was still a really good day and really fulfilling and really interesting. I was lucky enough to attend with a couple different people from Sourcewell, and so we were able to take a lot of the things that we had heard throughout the day and thoughts, and be able to start trying to directly apply them or talk about how could we apply these within our organization? What could we do with this? Is this something we want to take with us to try to bring forward? So the first day in particular was a long day just to get back into that mindset, but there was such energy and buzz in the room because people were excited to be there and excited to get to know each other and just excited for what this week was going to be.
You bring up an excellent point, or context for us. You attended, like you said, with a number, there was like 5 of you,
There were 5 of us total. Yeah.
5 from Sourcewell, but Christina, you attended on your own. And we have a question in the Q&A about, can you attend the program if you're not working full time? And I want to answer that and say, yes, absolutely. Like, you do not have to be employed full time in order to attend the program. We do ask that you just bring with you your experience, because we want you to be able to draw on your experience while you're listening to the professors, internalizing the research and the insights, so you have context to apply their learnings. Christina, what was it like for you attending as an individual without having colleagues from SNF with you?
Well, I actually took one of the suggestions as we were kind of doing some of the material, going through the material that we were given in order to prepare for the class. And at some point along the way, I had read that it's recommended to kind of message some people that you can meet up with for dinner on Sunday night prior to the start of the program. And so I did that, and I believe there were 3 or 4 people that responded, and then one more lady that we found in the lobby of the hotel, and she was kind of like, "Hey, are y'all here for this? And can I tag along?" And so that for me was great. I honestly enjoyed not coming with anyone that I knew, because it forced me to get outside of my comfort zone a little bit and meet some new people so I could meet people from all different backgrounds. But that became my group for the week pretty much. So that was really nice. We formed some great connections.
And do you still maintain those connections? Are you still in touch with them?
Yes. So we have our overall, we have a WhatsApp group for the entire group that we were in. And then we have a smaller one with just those ladies. And from time to time, we'll do individual text messages if it's like, hey, check out this podcast that we think one particular person would like or something like that. So it's, it's really great.
I love that. So we talk about we talk about sometimes having like a personal board of advisors. And so frequently I hear that the relationships formed in WLP are some of those long-term relationships where you go back to them, to your peers, to those friendships and say like, hey, I'm thinking about transitioning to a completely different industry. Here's my pitch for myself. What do you think? And you talk with them, you talk to them about your professional jumps and your personal challenges as well. I'm so glad to hear that you still maintain your relationships with them through WhatsApp. Kate, how about you? Were you able to kind of take in this material with Sourcewell in mind, and then with Sourcewell kind of pushed to the side as you went through the program?
I was able to take this in because I went to the program for me. I went to the program for me, for my growth and development. And so I took a lot away just for me and what I want to do personally. And then also was able to take some things away about this is something I would love to see at Sourcewell, or this is something that's going to be a challenge at Sourcewell that maybe because we did have a group of multiple people, this is something that we, could recommend or could work on. Um, so Sourcewell's never really like completely out of my mind. But it was I went to the program for me because I knew it was what I wanted to do and it was what I wanted my personal focus to be. And so I was definitely able to meet some different people. I loved, every day you sat with different people, you were interacting with different people, such great conversations, and you meet so many people, and as you said, you've got this group of just like trusted advisors now that you can run things by. Like in our WhatsApp group, we've been celebrating people who've gotten promotions, people who've run into each other randomly at different events. It's just really fun to see how this group continues to support each other, from when everybody's back in their homes.
Well, do you have are you able to describe some of the backgrounds of the people that you met, outside of yourself? Kate, Christina, open a question to both of you.
Yes, yes. I like there are a couple of people that come to mind that I think about. Like this person works for a police department, and so that she was a more direct and very forward person, and so that's someone I would reach out to if I ever needed advice on giving that type of feedback. I really bonded with another woman that worked at Google, and so that was a fun background for us to be able to talk about having lived in the same city around the same time. So yeah, there were it was we had people, we had international attendees, we had attendees from across the United States, in all different industries, all different areas, not only areas of expertise but also in different parts of their career. Some who were entrepreneurs, had built their own companies, some who were up and coming, some who wanted to take this opportunity to learn more. We had a group coming that was going through a huge merger. And so that was really interesting hearing from them the things that they were going through, and just that it can be really emotional. It can be a really emotional time, everything they were going through. So it was really, we had so many different people.
Hmm? Christina, any perspectives on your end?
Yes, I remember specifically a few lawyers. The couple of ladies that work um, at the New York Times. There was somebody one of the ladies that went to dinner with us on Sunday night. She had her own ABA therapy business, and it was so interesting to meet everybody with all of the different backgrounds. They also were at different points in their career as far as managing other people. Some were already managing other people, some wanted to manage other people and wanted to be promoted. into those types of roles where they'd have that level of responsibility. The interesting thing to me is no matter the background or where we came from, we all found that we were dealing with a lot of the same challenges at some point or another. And so it was very easy to connect with other people in the program, and everybody was incredibly supportive. So, like Kate said in our WhatsApp, we celebrate promotions and recognitions and things like that. And it is so much fun to see when one of those messages pops up and everybody is super supportive. And it's where we genuinely want to see each other succeed. So that it's been a great experience in that regard.
At least when I participated in the program, I found that the time in the classroom with each other and with the professors was often a time where people felt like they were able to be more vulnerable, and that vulnerability often inspired like a lot of earnest connections between participants and the building of those relationships, like finding commonality in the challenges that you face in your workplace, and finding someone else who has been there before is like really invigorating. And we don't often have the ability to talk that straightforwardly about challenges that we have at work, or speak candidly about things that we are uncomfortable to speak about with our superiors or even with our direct reports, right? Like you want to be able to discuss your challenges, but maybe you're just not able to do it in your workplace. And so it's so nice to be able to find like kindred spirits to be able to connect with. And that diversity that you're talking about in terms of backgrounds and geography, that's intentional. Like we really want to bring a really diverse group of people into the program, so you have dynamic questions that are dynamic conversations and the opportunity to hear different perspectives, as you learn about innovation from Rodrigo or emotional intelligence from Emma. Like you can get a number of different perspectives. I'm just taking a look in the chat. There is a question here about two questions about, is there an opportunity to participate in this program online? So currently we do have a WLP that is available online through our online program provider 2U. This particular program is held on campus in person, and we take advantage of that. The on-campus experience is something that we truly enjoy introducing to you and engaging with you. I believe both of you participated in a walking tour of campus. It's so great to hear that you got out and enjoyed some of the restaurant scene here in New Haven too. We're quite proud of our food, especially our pizza, if you weren't already aware. Christina, is that what you all indulged in when you went out on Sunday night?
Sorry, we did actually. We went straight for pizza on Sunday night.
Excellent. Where did you go?
I believe it's a place called Bar.
Oh yeah, you went to Bar. Great.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. They make a mean pie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of like pride in New Haven style pizza. And so for those of you who aren't aware, well, all the more reason to come to New Haven. So you can just taste it firsthand. So anyway, I suppose we'll go back to talking about the program. How did you now looking back, how would you have prepared for this program in the same way that you already did or differently now that you've been through it? Go ahead, Christina.
I would say I don't think I would have prepared any differently. I was aware going in that it was suggested that we put our phones away, no work distractions. And so I kind of prepped my team with that information and said, I'm not really going to be accessible during the day. And so they did their best to handle everything without contacting me. And so I was able to completely unplug, which is highly unusual for me, but it was much needed and such a great treat to just be able to completely focus on the program. And so I wouldn't change that. That was a really good thing.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, by the way. Thank you for turning off your notifications and being so present. in the classroom?
I'll add, interestingly, ever since I turned off my work email notifications during the program, I have not turned them back on. So now I have to actively seek out those emails instead of constantly being distracted by an email popping up on my phone.
And how do you feel like it's impacted how you work?
I think it allows me to relax a little bit more, not constantly being distracted and jumping from one thing to the other. Reminded me to, like Kate was saying earlier, be more intentional with my time and only allowing that work content in when that's what I'm aiming to do with my time.
Hey, how about you regarding the question about preparing to come to this program?
I agree with Christina. I don't think that I would prepare any differently. I went into it knowing that I went into it knowing that this was the type of course that you are going to get as much out of it as you are willing to put into it. And so I wanted to put everything that I could into it. So I did the prep work, which there was definitely a lot of reading, but thank goodness I was waiting for some people at the airport, so I was able to get through all of my case studies. And yeah, just I went in wanting to be there and be focused. So I had my notebook and my pen. I don't think most of the days I even brought my laptop because I didn't want to even think about having to use it. So I think that was a really great way to enter it.
But yeah, that's like going one step further. Don't even bring the computer. Don't eliminate the device as much as you can. There's a really nice question in the chat here, and I'm curious to hear your responses, Kate and Christina. Have you done leadership classes that are not female focused? How was your experience different from when you took women's leadership program to when you took that women specific leadership development opportunity?
I have done other leadership programs that were not just solely for women, and it's definitely a different experience. I feel like you don't get to the same level of kind of issues or day-to-day things that you're dealing with. Those You're just not getting to that deeper level of connection and communication.
I completely agree. That was going to be my answer too, that I've done other things as well. And being in this group of women, I felt such strong psychological safety. I felt like I can bring anything up, I can say anything. I can guarantee you there is someone else in this room that is going through a similar situation that I have versus when I've been in groups with mixed genders. It's been all can talk about this to an extent, and I'll give you this story to an extent, but I wasn't afraid to be emotional with this group. I even got teary-eyed in my small group coaching when we were talking through things, which I would have fought so hard to never do that had I been in a mixed gender room. So just being in the large group, and then also in my small group, I felt so safe that I could talk about anything, and that was really special.
So glad to hear that. That is something that the program does want for its participants to feel that comfortable, being that vulnerable with one another. You mentioned your coaching experience, Kate. Could you tell us a little bit more about that coaching experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were put into small groups, I think of about 6 people. And so on the first day, towards the end of the day, we had a coaching session. It was based off of that reflected best self exercise we previously mentioned, where you would go into these small groups and look through your reflected best self answers and try to put together some themes and to work through things. And from what I heard from my team, because there were 5 of us there, we were all in different groups, which was wonderful. And every group functioned a little bit differently. The group that I was placed in, our moderator listened to what we wanted to get out of this, where we were in our current careers, and really curated our conversations towards that. And so we had about a 2.5 hour in person, and then we had a virtual follow up about 2 weeks later. And I enjoyed my small group so much, and we're still in touch. And I enjoyed my small group leader so much that I was actually telling Kristen and Christina that we are working to have the organization that she leads come and do a deeper leadership training for our marketing team at our organization, because I was so impressed with how she moderated conversation and just the things that she brought to the table. So I loved the addition of not only these large group sessions, but then also these small group really dive into your results and your action plan and the things that you need.
How was it speaking with a coach as well as with peers? If you could dive into that a little bit more.
Oh, it was great. I found that our coach truly, she was such a good listener, and she was in there listening and trying to gather insights, and was truly acting as a moderator. She wanted our group to be the ones communicating and to not lead us down any specific path. She wanted to have the group organically move the way that it needed to move, and I found such strong support in that room, hearing that a lot of us were going through similar things and had similar feelings, and honestly ended up coaching each other through, hey, you're great, you should feel comfortable doing this, you should not be afraid of this, here's like, I'm here to help you. And so walking away having that small group, as well as that coach, was just it was so phenomenal.
That's something that I'm so glad to hear. And the group coaching is something that's unique, and it's something unique to experience. And I'm so glad that you had such a positive experience of that. Christina, any thoughts that you'd like to share on coaching before I answer a question that's in the chat?
I'll just say the coaching for me it was a great experience. It's something that I would like to get better at doing myself. It's very challenging, I think, to coach others and not lead in the direction that you think that they need to go. And so that was a great opportunity to kind of be coached and see what the process should look like, and have the opportunity to practice that. And for me, the coaching session is when I had my aha moment about the imposter syndrome, and kind of connecting the dots for me on some things. Like I said, here, sometimes I hear that my employees wish that I would communicate in a different way, yet in the reflected best self exercise, they said all of these really nice things that I'm glad that I'm helping them with, but me just not realizing that I really am helping them with. And during that coaching session, I realized that part of that is probably because I am just moving so fast and just going through the motions day to day. And I'm doing things because it's part of who I am, but I'm not really taking the time to be intentional with them and slow down and spend time and have conversations with them. And that was kind of the missing piece for me. It's great to see that they felt the way that they did, but I didn't feel like I was helping them because I'm just so busy jumping from one task to the next. So for me, it was very eye-opening, and something that I want to continue to get better at doing with my team.
That's wonderful. Leadership is really about building those relationships. It is about nurturing those relationships. And it is so hard to prioritize that time required to maintain those relationships when you have so much on your plate. There's a wonderful question that was sent to the panelists. Are most of the skills covered in WLP focused on soft skills? Are most of the sessions focused on developing soft skills and leadership instead of strategy and tools? And I would actually counter to say that some of those are one and the same. So the program does touch on a soft skill like conscious listening, for instance, but it does provide to you some tools and to encourage you to proactively do that, to use listening as an opportunity to build a relationship, and also to use listening as an opportunity to find common ground during negotiations, for instance. I wonder if either of you might talk about, in your particular presentation, did you have Dalian Kane? Did he have a negotiation session with you, or was it with Zoe or Stephanie?
It was with Zoe.
Zoe, great.
Mhm.
And so even with Rodrigo, where he's talking about innovation and about what it's like to kind of change your approach to a project, depending on the situation, depending on the objectives and the goals. Like you will learn about how those soft skills, how there are strategies around the applications of those soft skills to any given situation, depending on the project at hand or the people involved. I hope that answers your question. If you have more, if you'd like more information, just let me or Joanne know, and we're happy to talk to you more. I see we're almost at 45 minutes into this webinar, so I'd like to invite those who are on the call to send us your final questions. I know we have time to answer just a few more, and really we're here to help answer your questions. We're here to help you. So please drop those into the Q&A or into the chat so we can answer them. In the meantime, a couple final questions for you too, Kate and Christina. Do you think you might actually attend any future professional development programs? Are there things that you feel like you're still working on?
I think I definitely would. As I said before, I'm always interested in continuing to learn and develop and grow. I don't think that managing other people is a one-size-fits-all kind of recipe. I think you're always adapting to the environment, to the people that you're managing, to the situation. And so I think just keeping an open mind and continuing to learn is something for me that I'm very interested in doing. So while I got a tremendous amount out of this program, I'm always wanting to learn, but I would love for it to be with Yale because it was just such a great experience.
And a question just popped into the chat about how can someone who's already earned an MBA program benefit from attending this program? Can you speak to that, Christina, as a person who has an MBA as well?
Yes, absolutely. The MBA, I think it's a lot of kind of textbook and for me, it's different. Like I said, like we've said before, you're connecting on a personal level, you're having deep conversations, you've got the safety of the group, you have other women in the group who are experiencing the same things or something very similar. You've then also forged these lifelong relationships where you can go back to these women and ask for advice. And for me, I did not get any of that out of the MBA program. I got some great knowledge and experience, and I'm very proud of having accomplished that. But for me, it's very different.
Kate, how about you in regards to how do your past maybe degree experiences align with WLP?
It's a great question. I'm not sure that my past degree experiences necessarily aligned to WLP. I got my start in strategic communications and advertising, which yes, you get a degree, but I think a lot of that is just learned on the job, having started in advertising agencies and then switched over to the corporate side, going into marketing later on. So I don't think it necessarily, I don't have a good tie into that, quite honestly.
Okay, that is okay. Like sometimes sometimes like Christina said, you are afforded the opportunity to foster long-term nurturing relationships and while getting your degree, but then sometimes you aren't. Sometimes you're pursuing your degree for that academic knowledge. And that's what you're there to do. That's where you're there to focus on the research, on the case studies, like the faculty scholarship, and not necessarily those skills that are required to lead others, right? So, and as many of us know, like you start maybe as a technical expert and then you're promoted, and like the thing is, like your technical skills earned you respect, earned you the opportunity to perhaps teach others, but you were never necessarily trained in teaching others, and you were never officially trained in leading others. And so that's where this program comes in and is exceptionally helpful. There is a question in the chat about opportunities about the question about percentage of participants that are in person versus virtual. We tried to keep the cohorts around 40 to 45 people. that's by design. We want it to be rather small. We don't want you to feel like you're taking a 101 class in your freshman year surrounded by 200 other people. Like, we want you to get to know one another. We want you to have space to participate and feel like you are heard and a part of the conversation. So we do keep the cohorts, I would say, nice and small, around 40 people. Oh, the questions are just coming in. I was like, oh, this is great. I need a moment to actually read some of the questions because they are so rich. In the meantime, let me throw a question over to you, Kate. Is there anything about this program that you want to share that I haven't asked you about? From when we've talked about coaching, we've talked about RBS. Were there any case studies that really struck you? For instance, you said that you did all of the readings. Were there any that really have any stuck with you since March, since you left the program?
The case for Ibuli, which we did with Rodrigo as part of the innovation, that was so unbelievably interesting. It is about this very innovative restaurant that was in, I believe it was in Spain, and it really was one of the first places that was trying gastronomy, like molecular gastronomy with their food, and just the way that they would serve for 6 months of the year and then take 6 months off to ideate and refine and really determine what the next upcoming menu was. It was such an interesting case study and conversation to have, and how that tied back into innovation as a whole. I thought it was so interesting and so valuable. There was every single topic that we covered, every single presenter that we had, every professor that joined us, it was such good information. And I just wanted to absorb all of it and want to bring everything back to my team. And I know that I can't bring everything back to my team, which is why I'm encouraging members from my organization to go to future cohorts. There was a moment when we were on a break that I had to call my CMO about something quickly, and he said, how's your course going? And I said, this is bar none the best professional development I have ever taken in my life. And I've taken a lot. I've taken, soft skills thing. I've taken very technical skills. I've been focused in areas that I wanted to grow. And I said, I'm walking away feeling empowered and feeling that it's okay to not know everything, and it's okay to want to continue to learn and to grow. And I feel energized to do that versus some other professional development courses in my time I've taken were draining, and I'd walk away thinking, here's the 15 things I'm not doing right. But walking away from WLP, I thought, there's just so much more I want to do and I want to bring, and I've got a good solid base, and I learned so much, and I want to keep learning and growing and continue taking more courses and continue learning more to just be the best leader that I can possibly be. So I can't speak highly enough about the program, honestly.
I have a follow-up to that, but Christina, you came off mute, so I want to hear your thoughts.
I was going to say, for me, if I were to pick one just really significant moment, it's so hard. There were so many great things. But just looking back, Zoe Chance at one point during her class, and I'm actually reading her book right now, but she said, ask for far more than you expect to get. And I think women, I think we're really bad at doing that. I know I am. I've always just taken what's been given to me and not questioned it and been thankful for what I was given. But that's something that really just sticks in my head. Just ask for more than you expect to get. You don't know if you don't ask.
Her book is great. I had the opportunity to listen to it, and she narrates it. So it was fun to hear Zoe's voice in my ear when I was listening to it too.
Nice.
My follow-up for what Kate was saying is, you talked about continuing to grow. So we had a question in the chat about, is this a good program for mid-level professionals? And I want to ask both of you, because being in this far along in your careers, was this a good time for you to take this program? Could you see people who are more senior than you taking this program? Could you see people who are more junior than you taking this program?
Great question. I could see people more junior than me taking this program, assuming that they had a few years of being a people leader. Um, I think just from some of the examples and the conversations, it's helpful to have a few years under your belt of being a people leader. And then I absolutely could see people more senior to me taking this as well. Um, I think it's just a great opportunity to continue to refine how we handle things and to refine our leadership style. Because as Christina said in the beginning, you're always interacting with new people and different people, and not everyone needs to be led in the same way. And so having a really well-rounded toolbox, I think, sets you as a leader up to be as successful as you can possibly be.
Mhm. And sometimes when we talk about leadership, context is key here. We don't necessarily mean that you have to be the head of a multi-divisional organization. Sometimes we're talking about leading in the small moments. It's like sometimes a meeting is spiraling out of control. Like how can you contribute to bringing a meeting back on track? And that takes some strategy on part of and leadership to steer a group into a productive direction. So leading in the small moments, leading in those micro moments is key. And so I want you to feel like, for those on the call, to feel like just because you might think of yourself as like mid-career where or maybe you don't see yourself as a leader necessarily, and maybe you don't have a title as a leader, doesn't mean that you aren't already. Because like maybe we haven't stated straightforwardly, but in RBS, you are leading and you get to hear how you lead in the eyes of others, through that assessment, because you are actively leading. It just might not be in a very traditional way, perhaps. A question in the chat. Final question in the chat, let's say. Do you feel that an inspiring leader who may not have, wait, I'm trying to answer this and read this as I go, and that is not a great thing to do. Anybody else? Did you feel that an inspiring leader who you might not have direct reports? Or maybe the question is, can you be an inspiring leader even though you don't have direct reports? I have an answer for that, but Kate, Christina, do you have an answer for that? All right, I'll go with my answer. My answer is that absolutely, you don't need direct reports to be considered a leader. There is such a thing as leading laterally and leading up, and sometimes, or for that matter, leading from the middle. Like there's and sometimes projects can slow down. There's such thing as inertia. And sometimes it really requires an advocate, a cheerleader, somebody who's thinking outside of the box, someone who's maintaining the momentum to keep a project or a vision going. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have direct reports in order to make those inspired choices or actions and contributions. So I hope that answers your question, Joanne. If not, please reach out to me. Please reach out to Joanne Legler, who's on the call as well. We're happy to talk through more of this with you. Okay, great questions. Thank you all for participating. I'm going to wind this down. And it's just been such a rich conversation. I'm so grateful for the time, Kate and Christina, that you've shared with us, that you've shared with me. We will be sending a recording of this webinar to everyone who's registered in it. There'll be contact information for Kate and Christina to continue this conversation with them directly, as well as with Joanne. Joanne just dropped her email in the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. Please connect with us if you have more questions. We'd love to hear more about your desires for professional growth and how WLP might be able to help, how we might be able to help. WLP will be hosted again this September, mid-September, 15th through 18th. It is filling fast. It's nearly full. So if you are interested, please register sooner rather than later. And if the timing doesn't work out, never fear. WLP will be back in the spring, in March, again, same time as Kate and Christina took it, and then again in June. So we'll be sending you more information with those program dates and registration links later on this summer. So in the meantime, please again, reach out to us with any questions. And again, a final thank you. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Christina. Thank you for everyone for joining us on this call today.